Hey everyone, Jamie Holloman here. I am a clinical hypnotherapist and I work with clients to raise their self-esteem. So I help people to overcome feelings of inadequacy, self-doubt, fear, anxiety, everything that comes with low self-esteem. So in this video today, I want to talk to you about social anxiety. I want to look at what it means to have social anxiety, where it comes from, the true root of social anxiety, why you have it, how to overcome it, and what you're really missing out on by not overcoming social anxiety. Okay, so to begin, social anxiety, what this looks like is an intense fear of being watched and judged. You have this fear because you are afraid of humiliating and embarrassing yourself in front of other people. So when you have social anxiety, going to social events, and it's not even just going to social events like parties. Yes, that's a social event, but social anxiety really could be you're at work and you're in the lunchroom or you're on a lunch break and you're around a group of people. This is considered a social event to your mind. It can look like joining groups, meetup groups. This is a social event. Just being around groups of people. When you have social anxiety, it's not just strangers that you're afraid to be around, it's also people you know. When you are experiencing social anxiety, it causes a very intense reaction in your body, usually a heart palpitation, sweating, trembling, your mind goes blank, and a lot of times you're afraid that people are going to notice these symptoms. So you know that every time you go into public, this happens to you, and you're afraid people are going to notice it, so you don't even want to go in public. When you have social anxiety, you also have issues eating in front of people. So eating and drinking in front of people, it's a time for people to watch you and to judge you, and this causes the very anxious response. What is social anxiety? What is the truth about why you have this anxiety? Well, really what it is a fear of judgment and rejection. You are afraid of being judged and then being rejected. We are all wired to need to connect. So to your subconscious mind, being judged and being rejected means that you are going to get kicked out of the tribe to fend for yourself and inevitably die. That's not true. It's not really relevant for today, but your mind doesn't know that. Your subconscious doesn't know that. It wants you to connect. It wants you to belong. So it wants you to get the approval of all of your peers and everybody around you. Now, for you to have a fear of judgment and rejection, because you can look at, all right, well, if we're all wired to want to connect and not be rejected, why do some people have social anxiety and others don't? Well, two reasons. One, so the overall reason is because you are holding a belief that you are not good enough. So there is a belief that you are not enough. Now, there's two reasons why you could have this belief in the context of social anxiety. One is because you had an event in childhood where you were ridiculed or humiliated in public. Now, your subconscious picked up on that event and said, this is dangerous. I need to make it so that this does not ever happen to you again. So it took note and said, anytime you are in front of people, anytime all eyes are on you, whether you're speaking, eating, performing, just being, just walking into a room and all eyes are on you. That's another thing. When you have social anxiety, you don't like to be late to events. It gives you massive anxiety to get on time because you know that if you are late, you just imagine that you're walking into a room and everybody turns around and stares at you, and that is terrifying. So you most likely had an event where you were humiliated in public and your mind took note and it said, this can never happen again. You need to always avoid these types of situations because you don't want to be ridiculed ever again and judged. So anxiety, what that really is it's your body's response to fear. It's your body's response to a perceived danger. So now your body is programmed to say, your mind is programmed to say, being in front of people, being around people is dangerous. It's a threat. So now it activates your nervous system and it puts you into fight or flight. That's what anxiety is. It's flight. You're feeling all of the symptoms of I want to run away, I want to hide, I don't want to be here. So now that's one reason why you might have social anxiety. Another reason could be that you didn't have any actual event that caused you to feel humiliated in front of people. You just might have very low self-esteem. So what this means is that all of your beliefs that you hold about yourself say that you're not good enough, you're inadequate, you're not capable, you're not smart. It doesn't have to be all of them, it could just be one or two. Your beliefs are formed when you were a child. From the womb up until about the age of 7, you are in a perpetual state of hypnosis. You are functioning with only your subconscious mind, and you are taking in everything around you, your parents, everything from your environment, your friends, your teachers, things at school. You're taking in everything around you, and you are forming beliefs based off of what goes on and what happens to you. Now, the issue is that when you are a kid, you have an egocentric mindset. Everything that happens to you is because of you. We don't have that conscious analytical mind yet, that adult logical reasoning that can go, oh, well, my parents are working all the time because they need to feed me. We need to pay for this house so I can be clothed. No, as a little kid, you go, oh, my parents work all the time because I'm not the kid that they wanted. I'm not good enough. They don't want to be around me. I'm inadequate. This is how our beliefs are formed. Once our beliefs form, our beliefs create our identity. So our self-esteem is comprised of our self-image, our self-worth, and our self-value. So when we pick up these negative beliefs about ourselves, that becomes our internal subconscious identity. You will never experience a life that does not match your internal identity. So now you hold on to these beliefs, they become solidified in your subconscious, and you take them into your reality. Really what reality is just your subconscious mind reinforcing pre-existing belief systems. So now you go into the world, you grow up, you take in everything from your senses, and everything you take in gets filtered through your belief systems, where you now create and attach a meaning. But you are only going to attach a meaning that fits your preconceived beliefs. When it comes to the subconscious, whatever it expects to happen will happen. So whatever beliefs you have, you are constantly projecting into your reality. Now, the more you see something, the more your subconscious believes it to be true. So now you have these negative beliefs about yourself. They're being projected into your reality repeatedly, and your subconscious is just being reinforced that those beliefs are true. So when you have social anxiety, it is because you either A, had an incident where you were ridiculed in front of a group of people and your mind decided, nope, you're in danger, you can't do this anymore. Or you just have overall low self-esteem where you feel you are worthy of being judged and being rejected because of whatever beliefs you hold about yourself. Now, the thing about self-esteem and not wanting to be judged and rejected, when you have low self-esteem, you are placing your value in the opinions of others. So you don't want them to think negatively of you because you feel that that must be true. The truth is that another person's opinion about you is none of your business, and it doesn't matter. Your value is not dependent on another person's opinion. When you have very high self-esteem and you love yourself completely, that cannot be broken. That cannot be altered. It doesn't matter what another person thinks about you. It doesn't matter if somebody's judging you. It doesn't matter if you get rejected, because you really love yourself no matter what. And that's the truth. That's the way it should be. It should be that you don't care what another person thinks about you, because it really doesn't matter. So how do you overcome social anxiety for good? Because it can be overcame. There's a couple of ways. You can spend time creating new beliefs consciously. You can consciously take a look at what your belief systems are, and then you can reframe them. And every time you catch yourself in a negative loop, you put a stop to it. You try to reframe it. Or you can go in and you can completely change your self-esteem at a subconscious level. This is what I do with my clients is I go at a subconscious level and I quickly change their beliefs about themselves. I do a complete transformation of your identity and who you believe that you are. So we take all of your belief systems and we show you that they're not true. And this is done easily because you now have an adult conscious, logical mind that can look at whatever events caused these negative beliefs, and it can tell that part of your mind that wasn't true. None of that was true. You let it know the truth, you reframe your beliefs, and now your self-esteem is raised and your identity is changed. What you can also do is go back and see, all right, what is the event or events that caused me to believe that being in front of people, that being watched by people is a threat. Once you figure out where that comes from, which I do with my clients personally, then we reframe those events so that your subconscious no longer sees that as a threat. If it doesn't see it as a threat, there's no reason to have an anxious response. What's going to happen if you don't overcome your social anxiety is you are going to spend your entire life overanalyzing everything that you do, because that's another result of having social anxiety. You are so concerned about being judged and criticized that you pick apart everything that you do. What do you look like? How are you speaking? Did you say something that sounded stupid? Are you being awkward? Did you insult this person? It's never ending and you really can't escape it. Your jobs are also being affected by social anxiety. Your career is being affected. Usually if you have social anxiety, you have a hard time with education. Social anxiety has been shown to reduce academic performance. It also reduces career performance because you don't want to be in an academic setting. Why? Because there's a likely chance you have to speak in front of these people. You have to interact and you have to communicate, and it's just too much. And most people who have debilitating social anxiety won't even put themselves in that situation. If they do put themselves in that situation, they're not functioning at the best of their ability. One of the responses of anxiety is to completely shut down your brain. It's like your mind goes blank, you can't grasp information, it's a fear response. You can't retain information, you can't regurgitate information, so you're not going to perform as well. When it comes to your job, people who can't get up in front of a group and speak are less likely to advance in the ranks. Usually higher paying jobs or careers involve presentations, leadership skills, management skills. When you have social anxiety, that is a nightmare. And a lot of the times when you have social anxiety, because you already have low self-esteem, you don't believe you're worth those positions anyways. So you're not going to go for it. You're going to always hold yourself back. By not overcoming your social anxiety, you're really taking away from the freedom, from fulfillment, from happiness. Everybody, or most people, want to have hobbies. A lot of hobbies include learning that hobby, going to classes, meeting different people. When you have social anxiety, you don't do that. You tend to isolate yourself completely. You tell yourself, I don't even want to do this. I don't even like people. I don't want to go out and socialize. I would rather just stay home because it feels better to stay home than it does to put yourself in that situation. Another thing that you are hindering or really giving up by keeping the social anxiety are relationships. If you suffer from really debilitating social anxiety, you most likely aren't going out on dates. There's a couple of reasons. A, you need to meet people to be able to go out on a date. If you have social anxiety, you're probably not even going out. You're not meeting people. And if you do bring yourself to go out, you're quiet, You don't want to conversate. You don't want to make eye contact. You come across as being closed off. Nobody really wants to speak to somebody who's closed off. Going out on a date. Typically, dates look different nowadays, but typically going out on a date involves eating. A date is like an interview. A date is literally where you sit with another person and you judge whether or not that person is right for you, whether or not you like that person. It's like being on an interview, and that is a nightmare if you have social anxiety. That is something that you don't want to do. And then if you do push yourself to go on it, there's a very high chance that you're very awkward during the date. You're very uncomfortable because you know, oh my gosh, my heart's going to start racing. I'm going to be shaking. I'm going to be rambling. What am I going to do? And then that's noticeable, or you start to react in a way that's noticeable, that's awkward. So maybe the date doesn't really go anywhere after that. Another thing that happens is substance abuse. So when you have social anxiety, when you carry a belief system about yourself in your subconscious, that belief system creates tension in your body. This tension comes in the forms of emotions and thoughts. Now, it is our ego's job to resolve this tension because nobody wants to feel tension all day. And we do this through coping mechanisms. One of the coping mechanisms that comes with social anxiety is using drugs and alcohol. Why? Because when you're drunk or when you're under the influence, you don't feel anxious anymore. You don't have any fears anymore. You can be yourself. But then you become dependent on that because you know this is the only way you can go out and have fun is if you are drinking, if you are under the influence of something. So by not getting rid of your social anxiety, you are just prolonging the need to use substances. It's another thing that happens if you don't want to overcome your social anxiety. So really what it is a fear of being judged, being rejected, which comes from a belief system that you already have of not being good enough, any other negative belief systems, being inadequate, not smart enough, not pretty enough, all these belief systems that tell you you are worthy of being judged, as well as having a belief that your value is placed in the opinions of others. This can be changed, and it does not have to take long. So if you do want to change it, I suggest going ahead and doing that because you can live a very fulfilled life. You can be happy. You can experience peace and freedom.